Hi guys, this is Earl White with House Heroes. Thank you so much for checking out this blog about selling a house with a tenant in Florida. Appreciate you coming to the website, watching my video, and reading my blog. Now, I wanted to touch on this video in a few things. One, what are your options when selling a house with a tenant? Now you have three options really when you're going to go through that. You can sell with a tenant in place. You can wait till the property is vacant, or you can sell directly to the tenant. Then I'd like to go into a little bit about my personal philosophy about the best way to approach selling a house when the tenant's in place. So let's dive in. First, what are the options when you're selling a house with a tenant? First option is to sell the house with the tenant in place. Now, this is not always optimal because if you're trying to sell the property to a regular home buyer, they're not going to be able to move in. So regular home buyers aren't interested in having a tenant. They're not interested in dealing with getting a tenant to vacate. They want to move right in. So if you can get it vacant, so if the regular home buyer is your target buyer, then getting it vacant is the best play. Now, perhaps you can't. Perhaps you can't get it vacant. If you can't get it vacant, you're going to have to get the tenant to cooperate with the sale, and usually that means there's going to be showings, walkthroughs, that type of thing. So if your tenant is going to be non-cooperative, and the sale is kind of doomed from the start, it's going to be difficult if you can't get any access. You're just going to have to sell it sight unseen, and really only a real estate investor is going to buy it sight unseen without being able to get in the property. So in short, there's a few things you can do to incentivize tenant to cooperate. Really just, you can pay them money in the form of a rent, like a break in their rent. Everybody likes money, right? So if you can line their pockets a little more, great. You're most likely to get them to cooperate. Second thing you can do is, we do this a lot, is offer moving costs. Because look, if you're going to sell it, then ultimately the new person's going to own it, and very well they're going to remove the tenant anyway. So let the tenant know, look, you're going to have to move one way or another. It's going to be a win-win for everybody if I cover your moving costs and we get out before the sale. Because after the sale, then once there's a new owner, you might not be getting any compensation. You might just be getting your notice to leave. Okay, so that's the option of selling with a tenant in place. Your next option is to wait till the property's vacant. Now that can be difficult, right? Because you might be relying on the rental income to pay your bills. In which case, you can't exactly. It can be difficult to kick the tenant out. You lose your rental income, and then you could be in a hard spot financially. At least you have utilities running, maintenance running, all different costs at the property, and you got no rental income. So that might not be an option depending on the situation, but you can probably sell for more if you wait till it's vacant. So there's a couple ways to get it vacant. One is you just wait till the lease expires, give the tenant notice that it's time to go, and once that happens, then you can go sell it. So that's really straightforward, and a lot of times that's the approach we take. Lease expires, give notice, then it gets vacant, and you proceed to sell. Next option is just to pay the tenant to leave. It's called quote unquote cash for keys. So you're giving them cash, and they're going to give you the keys. Basically, you have a lease, and you have to provide some compensation to the tenant if you're going to ask them to give up their rights under the lease. So that's it. You wait till it's vacant. You can either wait till the lease expires and give notice, or you can offer them some kind of financial compensation to give up their rights under the lease. Lastly, you can sell the property right to the tenant. That's really a good situation. It's really considered a couple of reasons. One, it's the tenant's home. They like the neighborhood. They've often built their life sort of around this neighborhood, right? So they're more motivated to pay more than some other person that has no connection to the property. So you might get a better price just selling directly to your tenant than you would if you were to remove the tenant, have to clean up the place, then hire a real estate agent and pay commission on it. You might just do better selling right to the tenant. Problem is sometimes the tenants, they might have trouble financing the deal, right? Because that might be why they're renting, because they couldn't qualify for a mortgage from a bank. So in that situation, you can do what we call, a rent-to-own arrangement or a lease option arrangement. Basically, you set up a period of time that the tenant has, and they have the right to buy. They have the right to buy the property at the end of that period of time. And the idea being this period of time gives them time to repair their credit, build their income, save for a down payment, And at the same time, the money that they're putting, like the monthly rent that they're paying you, goes towards the purchase price. So, it's a good option if you want to, especially if you like your tenant and you want them to be in a good situation, and you think that ultimately they can afford to buy the house in a couple years. Rent to own is a good option for everyone, because really the downside is if they can't buy it in 2 years, you still have the property. You're still the owner, and you can go sell it you can go sell it the traditional way, or keep renting it out to the same people if that makes sense. Lastly, so that's it, right? So you got three options: sell the tenant in place, you can wait till it's vacant, and you can sell directly to the tenant. Each has its benefits. Each has the advantages and disadvantages. But in terms of in terms of how I personally like to handle this situation, in terms of like when I go to sell properties that have tenants or don't have tenants in place, really it comes down, from my perspective, is to who the target buyer of the property is. So if you have a single family house, and you're trying to sell it to an owner occupant, or a person that wants to become an owner occupant, it's not going to really be a good strategy, right? You're not going to be able to get the price you want, because an owner occupant, simply put, can't move in the property. And most owner occupants aren't real estate investors. They're not cash buyers. They're they're just regular people that want a place to live. And if they can't live in the property, then you're not gonna, really not gonna get a good price, or it just might not be a sale, right? So there might be no sale at all. So you just waste a lot of time. So if it's a single family, really targeted for a homeowner, then I think, from my perspective, you really just need to wait to get it vacant one way or another, and then you can proceed to sell it. If it's a decent rental property, so say it's a multifamily property, or maybe it's a single family in a good neighborhood, and that the people and that the tenants are paying market rate. So I would consider selling a property tenant occupied if those things are true. One, multifamily will put it aside, but yeah, obviously multifamily, right? So it's going to go right to an investor of some sort. So if it's a single family house in a rental neighborhood with a strong rental neighborhood, with tenants that are paying market rent, and it's attractive. It will be attractive to quite a few investors out there. So if that's the situation, it may be best to keep the rental, in place, and sell to a future, the next landlord. And the next landlord actually might really like this, because they don't have to go find a tenant, because the tenant's already in place paying market rate. So that's a good option. So guys, thank you so much for visiting our website. I really hope you check out the blog, check out the other parts of the site. If you're ever interested sort of in selling a house with a tenant in place, or selling generally, feel free to give us a call, 954-676-1846, or you can click up at the Get a Cash Offer button and give us your information, and we'll get back to you within 24 hours. Thank you.